My neighbor had been stealing from my garage for months. When I confronted her husband, his response made me realize what being a neighbor means. I, 29M, first noticed something was amiss in our quiet suburban neighborhood on a crisp autumn evening. As I pulled into my driveway after a long day at the office, I spotted an unfamiliar black sedan parked across the street, its tinted windows reflecting the setting sun. Nothing too unusual, I thought, but something about it made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. Over the next few weeks, small things started happening around my house. At first, it was just the garage door being slightly open when I knew I'd closed it, or items moved from their usual spots. My wife kept telling me I was being paranoid, that I was working too much and needed to relax. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. It started with my tools. A wrench here, a screwdriver there, things that could easily be misplaced. But then I noticed my expensive power drill was missing, followed by my impact driver. These weren't items you could simply misplace. That's when I decided to take action. I invested in a sophisticated camera system, complete with motion sensors and night vision. The installation took a full weekend, but I made sure every angle was covered. For cameras in total, 2 inside the garage, 1 facing the driveway, and 1 overlooking the side entrance. The system sent alerts directly to my phone, allowing me to monitor activity in real time. For the first few days, nothing happened. The cameras only captured me going about my routine, my wife parking her car, and our teenage kids grabbing their bikes. I was starting to think maybe I had been imagining things. Then, on a Wednesday night around 2 a.m., my phone buzzed with an alert. The footage showed a figure entering through the side door of the garage. They had a key. My heart raced as I watched them move with familiar ease through the space, knowing exactly where everything was located. When they stepped into better lighting, I had to stifle a gasp. It was my next-door neighbor, not the husband who I occasionally shared beers with while grilling on weekends. It was his wife. She moved with purpose, heading straight for my toolbox. I watched as she carefully selected several items, placing them in a canvas bag. But what happened next left me completely baffled. Instead of leaving, she pulled out a small cooler from behind some boxes, one I hadn't even noticed was there, and took out a beer. She settled onto my workbench, cracked open the can, and just sat there. For the next hour, I watched as she consumed 3 beers, occasionally wiping her eyes, talking to herself though the audio wasn't clear enough to make out the words. When she finally left, she was careful to lock up behind her. The next night, she came back. And the next. Each time, the pattern was the same. Take a few tools, drink beer, sit in silence. Sometimes she would pace, sometimes she would cry, but she always stayed for at least an hour. After a week of this, I showed the footage to my wife. She was as stunned as I had been. "We need to tell her husband," she said, but I wasn't so sure. Something about the whole situation felt more complicated than simple theft. We decided to watch for a few more days. During this time, I started paying more attention to our neighbor during daylight hours. She seemed different than I remembered, more withdrawn, tired. I realized I hadn't seen her tending to her usually immaculate garden in months. Her husband had been doing all the yard work lately. One morning, while getting the mail, I overheard her on the phone in her driveway. "I know, Mom," she was saying, her voice strained. "The therapist says it's normal to still be struggling. It's only been 8 months since." She noticed me and quickly ended the call. That's when pieces started falling into place. About 8 months ago, there had been a death in their family. I remembered the black cars parked outside their house, the steady stream of visitors bringing casseroles and condolences. Her brother, I later learned, had passed away suddenly. After 2 more weeks of nightly visits, we finally decided to talk to her husband. We invited him over one evening when she was at her weekly book club meeting. His reaction to the footage wasn't what we expected. There was no anger, no surprise, just a deep, profound sadness. "The garage," he said quietly, staring at the screen. It was their special place. He went on to explain that his wife and her brother had grown up working on cars with their father. Every weekend, they'd spend hours in their family garage, tinkering with engines, sharing beers, solving each other's problems. After their father passed away 10 years ago, they continued the tradition in her brother's garage. Until 8 months ago, when a sudden heart attack took him at 41. "She hasn't been sleeping," he continued. "She'll spend hours looking at old photos, watching videos of them working on cars together. I knew she was struggling, but I didn't know about this." He gestured to the footage. "The therapist says grief can make people do unusual things, trying to recreate what they've lost." The next day, while at work, I received a text from my wife. There was a box on our porch, all my missing tools, carefully cleaned and organized, along with a handwritten letter. I read it that evening, sitting in my garage. "I don't know how to begin apologizing for what I've done. The violation of your trust, your space, your property, it's unforgivable. The truth is, I've been lost since my brother died. His garage was my sanctuary, the place where I felt closest to both him and our father. When he died, I lost not just my brother, but the last connection to those memories. Your garage, it looks so similar to his. The layout, the tools, even the way the light falls through the windows in the evening. That first time, I only meant to look inside, to remember. But then I found myself coming back, night after night, trying to feel close to him again. I've started grief counseling. Real counseling, not just the one session I went a month ago. My husband is helping me convert our garage into a workspace. It won't bring my brother back, but maybe it can be a place to build new memories while honoring the old ones. I've included money to replace any tools that were damaged and to change your locks. I understand if you want to press charges. What I did was wrong, regardless of the reasons behind it. The letter continued, but I had read enough. I called her husband and asked if we could all talk. That evening, the four of us, my wife and I, her and her husband, sat in my garage. She told us about her brother, about their father, about the countless hours they spent together surrounded by tools and engine parts and love. She showed us pictures on her phone, 3 grease-stained faces grinning at the camera, a half-rebuilt Mustang in the background. The nights here, she said, it was like having a piece of them back. The smell of oil and metal, the familiar weight of the tools. I know it sounds crazy. It didn't sound crazy at all. We worked out an arrangement. Instead of pressing charges, I offered to help her set up her own workspace in their garage. Her husband had been right. She needed a place to remember, but also to move forward. Over the next few weekends, our families worked together to transform their garage into something new. We installed proper lighting, organized tools, set up a workbench similar to her brother's. During this time, she shared more stories about her brother and father, how they taught her to change her own oil when she was 12. The summer they rebuilt a motorcycle together. The last project she and her brother had been planning, restoring a '67 Chevelle like the one their dad used to have. 6 months have passed since then. The security cameras are still up, but they haven't caught anything but dust motes and shadows. Our neighbor's garage has become a different kind of sanctuary. She's teaching her kids basic car maintenance, passing down the knowledge her father and brother shared with her. Sometimes, on weekend afternoons, I hear laughter and the clinking of tools drifting over the fence. Last week, she invited us over to see her latest project. She's finally found a '67 Chevelle to restore. It's in rough shape, barely more than a shell of rust and faded paint. But as she walks around it, pointing out her plans for each part, her eyes shine with something that's been missing for a long time. The tools I thought she'd stolen? They've become a sort of lending library between our garages. Sometimes I'll find a tool I need has migrated over to her workspace, or she'll knock on my door looking for a specific socket wrench. We've started having weekend barbecues again, our families sharing meals and stories while surrounded by the comfortable clutter of works in progress. In the end, what started as a mystery of missing tools became something entirely different. It became a lesson about grief, about how loss can drive us to strange places, and about how healing sometimes requires a different kind of space than we expect. It became a story about community, about how sometimes being a good neighbor means looking past the surface of things to the pain underneath. Her brother's old toolbox now sits in her garage, next to the ones she's accumulated since. She keeps a photo of the 3 of them, her brother, and their father, pinned above her workbench. But there are new photos too. Her teaching her daughter how to change a tire, her son helping with an oil change, our families working together on various projects. The security cameras still send me alerts sometimes, usually when a strong wind moves the garage door or a cat wanders through. Each time my phone buzzes, I think about those nights, watching a grieving sister try to find her way back to herself in the familiar surroundings of tools and engine parts. I think about how easy it would have been to react with anger, to let fear and suspicion override compassion. I've learned that sometimes security isn't just about locks and cameras. Sometimes it's about understanding that people can break in unexpected ways, and that healing often requires the help of an entire community. Our garages are more secure now, not because of better locks or surveillance systems, but because we've built something stronger than physical barriers: trust, understanding, and a shared space for both remembering and moving forward. The black sedan I saw that first night, it turned out to be a rental car she'd gotten after her brother died, unable to drive her own car because it held too many memories of him in the passenger seat. She's driving her own car again now, and recently she and her husband helped me install a new engine in my son's first car, passing on the legacy of garage lessons to the next generation. Some might say I was too lenient, that theft is theft regardless of the circumstances. But in the quiet moments of early morning, when I see the light on in her garage and hear the soft sounds of tools at work, I know we made the right choice. Sometimes the best security system isn't the one that keeps people out, but the one that helps them find their way back home.